Welcome in, welcome in. Trying this out again. Welcome in. I'm gonna have to learn how to do this. I know typically the people they'll announce their live stream or whatever, and then they'll have it scheduled that way it can kind of alert people. What's going on? Nothing, just trying this out. Thank you for the like. Let me know if you can hear or whatever. Like the title says, just random topics. Still trying to work on a format. I know that they'll announce their stream. It's no biggie. It's on the channel, so if you think it's worth your time, thanks. Yeah, I tried it, and it was funny because no one could hear me, so I was streaming for like 10 minutes or something without people being able to hear me. So it's just a work in progress, learning, so I can get better at this. But like I said, random topics. You got something you want to talk about? Feel free. Welcome in. Work in progress, guys. This is just random off the wall stuff. I typically don't do this, so it's gonna take a while to really get it down. And then I guess I don't know if I want to pay StreamYard or whatever else, whatever platforms people use when they stream. We'll see how it goes. Pretty crazy night tonight. Like I said, it's just whatever topics you guys want to talk about. You want to talk about the government, we can talk about the government. Uh, well, let me tell you this. In 2016, because I told you I'm in the military, we were told not to use it. So now they're now all of a sudden, when they've kept their focus on Russia being the big bad guys that we got to worry about, I see this type of move kind of confusing. Like I said, back in 2016, I was warned about TikTok, and we were told not to go on it. You understand? We were told not to go on social media in general. That was another reason why I rarely showed my face when I did this boxing channel for the past 2 or 3 years. Um, I don't have a Facebook. I do have an Instagram, but it's so generic, like it's not even a real Instagram account. I just left it out there. People wanted to talk if they had anything that they wanted to talk about, if they're having issues or things like that. But they told us back in the day, so we knew that it was being used to spy on people. You understand? As far as the details of it being owned by China and all this other stuff that's circulating that people are wondering about, I don't know those details. Court of law is going to have to determine those type of facts. but we were told don't get on it back in the day, and that's almost 10 years ago. And I just find it weird how now you're shifting your focus from Russia being the big bad guys to now all of a sudden, it's a national security concern. Well, okay, but my thing is this: what are they really trying to accomplish? So I know that a lot of people use TikTok, and is it a means to continue to pacify free speech and things like that? Are you trying to empower yourself to be able to shut down any platform? You have to ask yourself those type of questions when you see these types of moves, especially when they come out of nowhere. So now you're against TikTok, and I know that what's that woman in New York City, Ocasio or whatever that nutcase. Um, they were pushing about TikTok not being banned. This is like the second or third attempt that they've tried to ban it, and you saw a bunch of senators, especially that woman in New York, like we can't do this. This is how people, whatever excuses they were coming out with. But you got to think about those type of things when you read the news. So control of money, it's definitely about control. Like I said, I see it more as an attack on freedom of speech, but I don't go on TikTok. So for me, it's not an issue. I never went on TikTok and never got into that trend. You understand? But uh, it's kind of like when they passed, same-sex marriage. Now, when you look at all the things that it affected, you understand it implemented the normalization of things such as LGBTQ and that type of stuff. So there's always underlying motives and underlying stuff when they do those type of moves. And again, now you guys are acting like you're against China, but you allow China to buy farmland. Uh, there was a Chinese ring that was caught in New York. You understand? Um, for a certain police department, they've allowed China into this country. Even in the border, there's a lot of Chinese immigrants that are being allowed in. So what's this term? This all of a sudden you guys don't trust China. Even Obama was known to being very nice to China when we make our movies and things like that. Here the same LGBT stuff that they'll hit you over the head with in these movies, they even cut that out for China because that type of stuff is banned over in China. So it's just again, you got to ask yourself why now. The timing, nothing's ever coincidence, and you just got to be you got to, instead of just taking the news at face value, you got to dig into it and research it yourself. We've known that it's been a national security concern, so what are we trying to do now? I think this is more so an attack on the American people than it is trying to act like they're protecting us from China. Again, I think they're just using it to continue to pacify free speech. Again, this is an attack I see on the American people, not on anything that they're trying to say on the news. So you got to kind of look out for those type of things. Any other topics? Go ahead and drop them. And I'm pretty sure this stream will get banned, but I don't care. That's another thing too. The COVID thing, they also kept that from the public that it wasn't a Chinese lab. So when this thing was unleashed worldwide, they of course were trying to protect China and their involvement with that. So again, it sucks that we're in a country now. You know, it seems like our biggest threat is ourselves. That's all I can say about that. It drives me crazy. You know. Any other topics? Go ahead, drop them in. Those who just coming in, welcome to the live stream. I'm not going to tell you to like like the video or whatever else. You know what I'm saying? Random topics. If you want to talk about anything, we can talk about them. You know. But yeah, this is the second attempt, I believe. I know that they've already tried this prior. Well, I mean, obviously, it's going to affect pretty much every facet. I did a video I think it's Transhumanism Part 1, and we went over an article that was released by Forbes back in 2018. Um, and I believe I left all the description or the links in the description and things like that. But this was in 2018 where they were saying how much this stuff was going to affect, uh, the world as a whole. And, even board members, you'll have to have like one AI entity or whatever, you'd have the CEO and then you'd have like an AI thing. So it's clearly going to have a big effect as far as content creators and things like that. You're already seeing these videos pop up. You can tell this AI to, I need this, present to me these images or whatever else. But there are people, that work on websites, things like that. It's going to basically, if I'm a business owner, it'd be cheaper for me to fire those people so that I can use this AI machine that can do your job, and probably do it better and everything else. So it's going to have a big effect on everything, you know. They're drastically changing the world. They know what they're doing. And AI is that's just one aspect of it. They're doing a lot of other crazier stuff. And like I said, I don't pull the information from conspiracy theory websites and things like that. I'll go I'll take what, for example, like I already said, Forbes magazine and pull an article there. So they're pretty out in the open with what they intend to do. Like none of this stuff is conspiracy theory anymore. I think when I start talking about that, what's it called, on the TikTok thing, they definitely age consent law. No, I haven't, but I can tell you this: sex trafficking is deeply rooted with porn. A lot of people don't know this. You're actually supporting people that do that type of stuff when you're watching porn, and if you're paying for it and that type of stuff, a lot of those people, you know, their families will sell them and whatever else. Those are some of the things you need to research, and it's quite well known. It's not conspiracy theory. So I'm pretty sure there's other factors involved with that as well. Once it reaches the news, like it goes through plenty of filters at that point. So I know that they're trying to um, get you to focus maybe just on that aspect, but there could be other reasons behind it. They should, but it makes a lot of money, and like I said, there's uh, certain individuals they make money off of that stuff too. Uh, it should be banned. You know what I'm saying? Uh, Societies they always crumble when they have like a sexual revolution. We saw this in the 60s and 70s, then it turned into the normalization of, homosexuality, transgenderism, and that type of stuff. And now they're even getting crazier, but it would make society better if they did get rid of that type of stuff. I was going to do a video here pretty soon, but I was going to address some of these topics in that video. But I figured I'd just come on live for a little bit, test out the waters. Welcome in. There's also plenty of other people. They're talking about how AI is going to affect everything. Like I said, I just gave it to you from like a content creator perspective or someone who has people who run like their professional social media things like that. And these people they get paid a lot of money. But we'll specifically talk about Sora and what that thing's capable of. Again, if I'm a business guy and if I can save money, I mean, those type of people are going to be cut out. They're going to get fired by a bunch of people. Any topics, go ahead. Whatever you guys want to talk about. My first stream, I kind of held back a little bit on some stuff, but this stream, you know, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna call it how I see it. As a Christian, I don't put my faith in men. You supposedly have Republicans and they control the House, but yet you're still seeing the left able to accomplish what they want to accomplish, and you gotta ask yourself why. You know, um, if I were gonna vote again, it would be Trump. But is it really going to? I hope it changes things. I hope there comes about some real change, but we'll just see when we get to that avenue. You know what I'm saying? Right. Yeah. I'm not going to vote for no Biden. That's insanity at this point. We see what's happening to this country. There's no way. Any topics, whoever wants to drop them, go ahead. We'll talk about it. Anyone got topics they want to talk about, just go ahead, drop it in the live chat. Like I said, we're barely starting this, trying to practice, you know, learning period. I'm pretty sure I'll be more better at this. Aftermath of this Palestine versus Israel. That's a little strange. I mean, I'm not saying it's a strange topic, but the whole situation is kind of weird. You see that we have people in our government that are pro Palestine and they're trying to make them the sympathetic uh, figure, just like they tried to make Ukraine a sympathetic figure. And it's like we're kind of backhandedly supporting Israel, but at the same time, we're sending aid to, Gaza and whoever else on the other side. So it's like we're trying to play both sides. So it's kind of weird to try to understand what is our government trying to accomplish by playing both sides, and also why is our government helping both sides, and it seems like supporting both sides while we're also supporting a country like Ukraine, and we know that there's plenty of infrastructure and things that a lot of that money could help towards the people here in the United States of America, but it seems like their focus and their interests are always on foreigners and what's going on in the world instead of here. So um, I don't understand it. You know, maybe they're just trying to eh, stand on both sides of the fences, and whichever is more opportunistic later down the road, you know, maybe they'll hurry up and jump towards that. So again, it seems kind of wishy-washy their approach and what they're doing today. Yesterday I came on like around 9 or 10 o'clock, so it seemed like there was more people active at that time. Because I'm here on the West Coast, it's already 7:20 here, and I'm sure there's other people streaming right now. So I don't know. Like I said, it's just a learning process. I think he'd have a good chance. Styles make fights. But I don't know. Wilder, he still has a very good right hand, so he kind of has a Happy Gilmore type right hand. He's got to jump and hop into it, but when it does land, it's devastating. I don't know how good Francis is as far as his boxing acumen and that type of stuff. Fury, he's always had like the McDermott fights, for example. The first fight wasn't a draw, or did people think that McDermott was robbed? It's been so long since you know, but he ended up having to fight McDermott the second time, and he did win. And but he always has those off nights, so you can't really tell off of that. But Wilder, I'm not going to say I'm a big fan of him, but we just saw what AJ did to him, and he just came out with that explosive rocket right hand. And I don't know. Wilder's also 6'7", has a ridiculously long reach. Maybe at this point though of his career, maybe he's just done and he's just cashing out or whatever else. I would like to see it. I won't pay for it, but I see no reason why not to make that fight. What's up, Mark? How you doing? That's funny because I've been telling these people like don't worry about smashing the like button because I know that stuff gets annoying when I'm watching live streams. uh, I watch a lot of guys like Bushido boxing and those type of dudes, but he'll use Blue Bloods intro, like that little clip that he always uses where the dude's getting mad at the live stream for not smashing the like. Modern dunk scares me. I don't know. Like I said, that's not a money I'd feel comfortable putting on either fighter. Boxing is a different sport, and what's his name? He, like I said, you look at the McDermott fights. I think he even knocked Fury down. You know what I'm saying? Just like Francis did, and McDermott was like a domestic level fighter. We also saw Cunningham knock down Fury. So I don't know. Yeah, I noticed that in his last fight against Parker, he was. But heavyweight division, it's the division where one punch could truly, change a fight. It's more prevalent. It's the most prevalent in that division. And Wilder, he is a one-trick pony. So I mean, but his right hand is devastating if he does want to throw it. And I don't know if what's his name's going to sit there, really implement a game plan where he's able to, do it and have success for the whole span of 12 rounds. You know, Parker, he's actually a pretty good fighter. He had a good amateur pedigree, things like that. Plus, he was also in that, what was it, the WCS or whatever that was. He fought guys like Usyk, and that he lost to Usyk, but it wasn't like a real professional boxing, but it kind of was. So he had a lot of experience. He also has sparred guys like Vladimir, been in camps with those type of guys. Uh, you know, Parker is just one of those guys. I don't know what it is. He could do a lot more. You know what I'm saying? And he's starting to show that now, especially in his last two fights. But before, he kind of seemed like he's just happy to be there and things like that. And kind of like a Danny Garcia or something like that, where you know they're not going to allow themselves to get knocked out, but they're not really out there to try to win either. But Parker, he's really turned it on in these past couple of fights. Taylor versus Carter. I haven't paid attention to it. I'd have to go in and actually research and see what's all going on. Is there anything crazy going on with that? I saw where they got in a little scuffle. I did see that for one of the press conferences, and they're trying to hype it up like they really hate each other and everything. Taylor, he's a guy, he goes, he drinks, he does that type of stuff. He gets in trouble as well. So I don't know. Maybe something could happen. Yeah, Parker, like I said, his past couple of fights, he's finally turned it up a notch. But before he was kind of a happy to be there type guy. Even against Anthony Joshua, that fight, a lot of people gave him moral victory for lasting or whatnot. But again, he was just happy to be there. It seemed. It didn't seem like he was really trying to win. But yeah, Zhang, man, he's still a dangerous fighter. I wouldn't mind seeing him in Wilder or somebody else. You know, these fighters, they have to be more active. I don't understand why they're not. There's really no reason for them not to be active and fight each other at this point. But Taylor, he's kind of a wild card. Like I said, he's been arrested on things, disorderly conduct and those type of things, starting bar fights. So who knows? You know, I haven't, like I said, read anything on it. I'm pretty sure he possibly could have gotten in trouble if that's what's causing the delay. It's not elite at all, man. It's just observation. Um, it's very basic and simple. When you watch fighters, they become predictive, and you're going to notice that they do tendencies and patterns. So, and then when you get to the point where you can just simply observe and not be fanboy about it, you can you can kind of predict how their styles are going to mesh up. You know what I'm saying? It's anybody can do it. It's no special ability or nothing. And it's not because of elite boxing knowledge or nothing. This guy literally does this. I knew his jab wasn't going to be effective because when you watch the film, his jab is never really that effective. He throws it a lot, and you saw during the fight they were trying to say things how uh, he throws the most boxing combinations in all of boxing. When you pay attention to those type of things in the narratives and you just measure it to what you're actually watching and see if there's truth or if there's falseness to it. Plus, you look up the stats. Like you made this many attempts against Sean Porter. You only landed about 30. Sean Porter landed about 28 jabs on you. So again, people, uh, you know, it's like with these Canelo fans. These people, they get moist and they think I'm just trying to hate on your fighter. But again, I don't see this elite jab. We mentioned it plenty of times. Larry Holmes had a jab. We mentioned plenty of guys' jabs, where they actually can hit fighters in their head. Spence, he wastes a lot of punches. Guys like Sean Porter, they waste a lot of punches. And on top of that, your game plan revolves around volume punching of non-impactful punching. So you see both, his knockouts started to dwindle and stuff like that. You know, um, and that's kind of in the boxing as a whole right now. Joe Kawasaki kind of introduced that volume stuff, but we see this in basketball and even NFL where everything is, well, more is better. You know what I'm saying? Well, even, you know, make it harder on defense to stop things, bro. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it, bro. Thank you. But that mentality has crept into boxing as well. So you have these fighters, and I was noticing in this with heavyweights too, where these guys, Chris Arreola and what's his name, both throwing 1,000 punches. Where's the knockout? You know what I'm saying? It's the hurt business. And that aspect of fighting, it has been lost, And I think that's because these fighters, they have silent agreements, just put on a show, go out there, throw 1,000 punches each, make it all dramatic. And again, you don't have these guys that can. A guy like Crawford, we always said his mantra or motto or whatever you want to call it, one shot, one kill. And it's the same when you play chess. You want to end the opponent as soon as you can. And golf, it's about the least amount of strokes as you can to get to this point. You know what I'm saying? And boxers back in the day knew that. Uh, Sandy Saddler, for example, this guy would go as far as any way, shape, or form of how he could damage your opponent. It was always about damage. It wasn't about trying to look good for the judges. And today, you got a lot of fighters that just try to look good for the judges. I think he's going to knock him out too. Rolly, man, Rolly should be very happy that he's been allowed to get this far. You know what I'm saying? He's a blessed fighter. That's all I can say. But he's starting to get exposed more and more, and I see no different. He should get what's his name should be able to knock out Rolly. Rolly's been getting knocked out in sparring and everything else. So old man hurting him and everything. So at this point, that should be a pretty easy fight. Not easy, but Rolly can punch too a little bit. You know what I'm saying? He can punch. If what's his name comes in there crazy, like how he sometimes does, maybe Rolly can catch him. But again, Pitbull should get him. Yeah, Keith Thurman is just. Have you guys ever seen the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Bob? I forgot the dude's name, but it stars Brad Pitt and Casey Affleck. It's a very good movie. It's a western. But this guy, he's a weirdo. He's a psychopath, and he has this fascination with Jesse James, and he believes that they both have like the same attributes and everything else. Well, Keith Thurman, he has that same kind of weird fascination with Floyd, and in his mind, he thinks he's doing what Floyd does, and he does this a lot. You'll out of nowhere, he'll just bring up Floyd in his interviews and things, and he'll talk about how Floyd was the greatest 7 round fighter. Dude, you don't even know what you're talking about. Floyd would sweep the first few rounds. Then he let the fighters kind of punch themselves out in the middle rounds, and then he would sweep the championship rounds. Another thing about Floyd is you say what you want about him, but the man works hard. Keith Thurman does not work hard. You understand? You're kind of like Ryan Garcia. You're in the camera more than you are in the gym, and you're running your mouth more than you are practicing your craft and things like that. But he just has this weird fascination. Like I said, in his head, he thinks he shares attributes with a guy like Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather's Manny Pacquiao. Keith Thurman's Manny Pacquiao was Danny Garcia. You know, that was like the height of your career, and you decided you wanted to go, smoke weed and be a hippie out in the Himalayas and go find your girlfriend, your wife, and all that stuff. So Keith he's just a weird character, man. He really is, but he likes attention. He likes to hear himself talk and those type of things. And he'll sit here and just give you like a 20-minute monologue on himself. When they ask him about, well, what do you think about Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney or something? I'm just using that as an example, but I don't know, man. I mean, he's a lot of people like Keith Thurman. They like to hear him talk and those type of things, and they like his character. I just was never a fan. Rolly should think. Rolly, I don't even want to know how he thinks Floyd Mayweather. But he should be. Well, it just goes to show you. We talked about this before. The mindset of a scavenger versus the mindset of an apex predator. Keith Thurman was never a apex predator. He won his belt, his first Reggie belt, off of Robert Guerrero, and Robert Guerrero at that time of his career was punch drunk and already at the end of his career. You know what I'm saying? And he still was competitive in that fight versus Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman took a lot of damage. He got caught with a lot of shots. He even ended up with a hematoma on his head. He looked all deformed by the end of the fight, although he did win. And he was dominant, but it was still a very competitive aspect to that fight. But he was also kind of always fed guys that were at the end of their career and things like that. Plus, a lot of people don't know this. I think it was Quandre Robinson on one of the Floyd Mayweather's undercards. Again, it's been years since I've looked into this stuff, so I can't remember exact details. But a lot of people, they thought Manny Pacquiao was the first to knock down Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman was almost stopped by a bum, like I said, Quandre Robinson, in the first round. It was a 4 rounder, and he did end up knocking out Quandre Robinson. But again, he's been knocked down before, and he was almost knocked out before, even early in his career. Yeah, but he was never an apex predator. He was never a guy that was in there to truly. He was looking to cash out early on, and uh, Amir Khan gets a lot of hate. You know what I'm saying? But Amir Khan has fought everybody. He was ducking Kell Brook, but he was ready to fight pretty much everybody. He fought the Maidanas and those type of guys. He fought some hard matchups. And you don't even have like that type of you know bravery as a Amir Khan, in my opinion. Like this bozo won't focus. Man, Derek James, man, that's another character right there. Don't even get me started on Derek James. But it's not like he's even really teaching those fighters anything. People give credit for Derek James teaching the jab, but again, was Errol Spence's jab really that effective? Was it mostly volume more so than it was a pinpoint accurate jab that actually caused damage? Even guys like Jamal Charlo, and we're talking about the older or big Charlo. You know what I'm saying? I've seen him knock down fighters with a jab before. I haven't seen Spence knock down a fighter with a jab. And again, Ryan Garcia, Derek James to me, he's kind of like a guy they kind of put on a pedestal. I don't think he's a real good boxing trainer. I think another thing too is he was in Texas and he was from Oak Cliff, and I think Al Hammond, he pays attention to this stuff. He knows how to link this stuff. But you had rappers down there that were causing a lot of buzz down there in Oak Cliff. I'm not going to mention any names and all the things that happened down there. And Derek James just happened to be from Oak Cliff, and then we take this suburb boy and we got to associate him with that as well. So it's marketing, it's planning. It's all boardroom. They know what they're doing to a certain degree. Where's Frank Martin? Who's he with now? Who's he training with now? Unless he's not training both of them, right? Is Frank Martin still with? He feels head movement is point. Dude, he said a lot of dumb stuff. He said Kell Brook switch hits, and I mean, Derek James we could sit here on a live for like 2 hours about Derek James alone, like, and all the dumb stuff he said. And remember the Spence fans, how they're like, he has Derek James. You know what I'm saying? And even Errol Spence in the press conference versus Crawford, I got my coach. He don't know, he doesn't just teach talent, he teaches fundamentals and blah blah blah. Like, again, we gotta stay focused. We gotta stay focused. We gotta again, what has this man really done? At the end of the day. And like I said, the way they do fighters today, it's scripted. They're like industry plants. It's just like the music industry, especially when you're working with a guy like Al Heyman. He's over here, has the majority of the sanctioning bodies. He funneled them to Keith Thurman. When that didn't work out, then he started funneling them to Spence. And as long as it's in his cinematic universe, a lot of people, they'll get fooled by that type of stuff when they don't really know what they're looking at. But you know, these fighters, again, it's a lot of this stuff. It's staged and scripted from just like a lot of these people that you're seeing in the music industry when they just pop out of nowhere for some reason. And now they're like, I guess, the hottest thing since sliced bread or whatever. All of a sudden. Well, if he's only getting 200,000, I believe that's what they said he's getting paid. Uh, I mean, how much can Derek James really take out of a $200,000 paycheck as far as Frank Martin? What's his name? And this is what's sad, and this is where I kind of feel bad for Derek James. But Spence didn't really ever pay him that much money, so he didn't start getting paid till he started working with other fighters. But Spence was even on Twitter saying, these fighters, they pay their trainers too much and all that. So, you know, for a minute there, I understand Derek James, but Spence wasn't even really paying him that much, so he just had to do what he had to do. Well, Charlo, he got into some drama, and I've heard, was it a trans woman that he beat up? That's what I heard when I went on Bushido Boxing, because I watch him too. But his going quiet is having to do with just being the type of dude that he is, a hothead, and just getting himself in trouble. Spence, I mean, he's always been a passive aggressive type guy, so you know what I'm saying? He'll come out one day again and act the rematch, and then pull out the next. So I don't know what that guy's doing right now. Any topics, guys, whatever you want to talk about, I don't care at this point, and I won't have a filter. Man, I haven't even been paying attention. What, you got Teofimo Lopez, and who else you got? Devin Haney. Progray's still in it, right? Progray got his payday, so I'm sure he's good for a minute. That's another guy. He doesn't really stay active, and he's like 35, 36. What is he, a two-time champ? Yeah, Matias is a problem. The 140 division has always been a pretty good division that a lot of people don't pay attention to. But even when guys like Timothy Bradley and those guys were down there back in the day, it's a very pretty good division. It's always been consistent. So we've been on the stream for about 45 minutes. Hopefully, Boss can be back on top again. Boxing has to reform itself, and it has to do what UFC is doing. It's got to act as one organization. You know what I'm saying? And they're going to have to stack the undercards and make it worth people's while to really get back on top. Boxing is ran in a manner where it's always trying to rob the bank and then escape. It never invests in itself like the UFC does. I know. They all are happy with their little piece of the apple or whatever, and they're all just worms destroying the apple. So, if they could work together, in the long run, it would actually help the sport, but they don't do that. They're not going to do that. They're too greedy just for the little, you know, piece of the apple that they're trying to maintain. But, I made this point plenty of times. Oscar De La Hoya, even when he fought Steve Forbes at the 154 pounds, when he was promoting his Manny Pacquiao fight, that was on premium channel HBO. That got 6 million viewership. And you don't even have fights today that can garner that on network television. So it just shows you where the state of boxing is. I've said this plenty of times. UFC understands that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Boxing is just like prostitution. It's a formula that you don't really have to change. You know what I'm saying? Um, just make the best fight each other. And on top of that, like I said, they they have value. Like I said, in what they do. You're going to get a main event that the fans have been asking for, but at the same time, they're gonna have stacked fights throughout the card. And you're there literally what 3 hours of just fights, and it's the best fights that they can provide. So they keep a pretty good quality product, every time. And a lot of these fighters that they have too, they may not, they got personalities and things like that. So you got the elements of like WWE, you got some colorful characters, and they're also very down to earth, so that people can relate to them. They're like people where you go to the bar. That's how a lot of their fighters are. So the way they do their things is pretty smart. Any topics, guys, whatever you want to talk about. I do not care. That's just the nature of the fanboy today. You know, like Errol Spence. You know what I'm saying? Are these guys still with Errol Spence? You know, it's sad that fighters are like that, or the fans are like that today. I mean, the fans play a large part into that as well. Um, like I said, Oscar De La Hoya, we always bring him up. He lost the majority of his big fights, and he was still able to pull in money, even with taking L's. So I noticed I haven't seen a lot of those channels. Like they used to always be on my for you page or whatever they call it, timeline or whatever else. A lot of the LDBC channels and them. So I don't know what a lot. I can't even remember their names. Managing manager Marty was a funny one. I don't know if he's still around. That guy was gung ho, or he was just ultra Terrence Crawford hater. But I don't know. There were some other dudes I can't think of their names right now. It's funny. I haven't really been paying attention, and they're not on my timeline anymore either. I know that Trill Boxing, he quit Boxing Talk, and he was a big, Errol Spence supporter because he's down there in Texas. Hold on, my door's opening. Oh, we've been on for about almost 50 minutes. If you guys got any topics you want to talk about, let me know. It's getting a little nippy out here. Any topics, guys. Any topics. Like I said, I don't have the filter on tonight. Is he? Yeah, I don't pay attention to that dude. He's a big Danny Garcia supporter too, because he's from Philly, right? Yeah, I see Danny's out here trying to get fights too. Finally, I guess I don't know. Maybe he needs a little bit of money or something. I don't know. That's what sucks about boxing as well, because you got a lot of good fighters. You know what I'm saying? Um, Steady on this, he'd be a pretty good competitive guy for anyone, even a meme machine. You know what I'm saying? A lot of guys have been shafted just because PBC had a foothold on that division alone. But we were just talking about this, like Zhang and all these other fighters. They should be a lot more active, and fighting more. But again, boxing, like I said, it just doesn't keep these guys busy. They sit around, they get in trouble, they get arrested, and all this other stuff. So I think the answer to that is no, because I'm going to tell you this: the technology that they're trying to claim that they have, uh, they want it to run off of clean energy. It's not. Uh, what's the word? I was going to say proficient, but it's not practical. I think is the word I'm trying to say. So again, even when it comes to war and other things, would you take clean energy tactical vehicles into war? They're only going to last for like maybe 100 miles, especially when they're in a desert, wherever, terrain, but it's just not practical. So I think right now they still in a position where they can't do what they want to say that they're doing. Because again, this isn't the Marvel movies. This isn't Tony Stark. You're not gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just not practical. So I don't know. Maybe if they do have the other means, that it could be it, but I don't know. Hey,
Are you on the phone?
hmm?
You still on the phone?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I appreciate the time, guys. We've been on for about 52 minutes. We'll do this tomorrow or something, and maybe I'll announce a time, or you guys can let me know in the comment section what would be a good time for you all, all right? Um, we'll talk to you guys later, man. Appreciate it. Thank you again, Mark, for the $2. Bye. Appreciate it. You guys have a good night.
Are you gambling?